doopy 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 doo. Did I just make that up? Yes. I don't like these things. Why can't I think? I don't like these specific cuffs that I have in, because they're tiny, and I ordered a whole pack of them, and I'm irritated because they're not big enough, because my locks are one thick, and then I 2-strand twist them. So that means that they got a little bit of, never mind, I'm not gonna go there. I'll keep it PG. But they're thick, and so the ones that I have are small, and they don't wrap around the whole twist, and then they don't stay in, and it's aggravating. Yeah, I didn't come here for that. It's fine though. I know you didn't. I know you didn't come here for this. Hey y'all, it's Ashley at the Realm of Kidlit Comics, and we are back here for another video. I am sitting in front of the camera again, like, girl, what? Who's this girl sitting in front of the camera? No, but I'm sitting in front of the camera because I did say I want to get back into the swing of filming, and I am attempting to get back into this swing of the thing, the vibe, the something of film. Anyway, I'm trying to film again, and I still have been reading incredibly slow. Did I buy a book that is water damaged? I'm pissed. You also didn't come here for that. Oh no, they didn't sell me a water damaged book. It's the collection development person in me. I can hear the crinkle. That's so irritating. I can't believe they so. Okay. Sorry. Pause. It's the mind. It's all over the place. Let's try this all over again. Hey y'all, welcome to the Realm of Kidlit Comics. I am trying to really delve back into filming, delve back into content creation, and I actually have been reading just a little bit. I'm currently buddy reading a book, but then I started reading something outside of the buddy read, and I was like, uh-oh, is she back? Are we having a moment? Is the girlie back? And so I was like, okay, I feel like I'm getting back to my old self. November, I just needed that moment. I wanted to ease back in. We're easing back in, and this shirt is making the lighting very, very weird, so I apologize for that, because it's white and camera and lighting doesn't work. But today, because I'm still kind of getting back into reading, content can be challenging, but there's ways I think to make content without reading. You just kind of gotta get a little creative with it. So we are in December. In December, we typically start thinking about what we want to do next year. What are the goals? What are the priorities? What are the aims for next year? This year was not a flop of a year for me, but it definitely was an interesting year where I did things differently than I typically do. There's a certain kind of freedom in that. And so I wanted to talk about 5 things that 5 bookish habits that I am not taking into 2026. And when I say bookish habits too, we could also talk about this in terms of content creation, right? Because this is all part of the book community. And so I think maybe 1 or 2 of these is related to content, but for the most part, the majority of it is going to be related to content creation, 60% of it. Am I doing my math right? I'm not doing my math right, am I? No, I am. 60%. I literally am so horrible at math. It's absolutely disgusting. Okay, first things going into 2026. No more pressure on attempting to read every single thing. And it's wild for me to say that, right? Because you're like, what? Like, I thought you were already doing that. I think what ended up happening this year too, right? My actual job, like my full-time job and what I do on here, this year more than any year ever, like no lie, they began to kind of flow into each other, and it was very unexpected. It was not something that I saw coming, but they did. There was a crossroad between the two. And I do feel like my need to always be on my A game, that big Virgo energy, especially September Virgo energy, was very strong this year. And I felt the need to read all the things and to almost have this level of perfection when it came up to keeping up with Kidlit new releases for 2025. It became this constant conversation, not only just like in my head, but I found myself saying like out loud, I am so behind on 2025 releases. And I probably have said that even within the last couple of videos. I'm so behind on 2025 releases. I haven't kept up. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I have felt a lack of preparation going into the Youth Media Awards, which is going to be happening, I think, January 26th of next year. Or next month, because next month is next year, and that's wild. But I think that I put a lot of pressure on myself for that, and so I felt disappointed looking at like a list of new releases for 2025 and realizing that I had not really read as much as I had hoped to read. Whereas last year I felt like I read a lot more. Last year I also read like 1,000 books, which is obscene within itself. But also, I mean, come on, like that. I mean, that was like the penultimate goal there. But at the same time, I think it put a lot of pressure on me to read at the speed and breadth that I read last year. And it's not debilitating because I did do high numbers this year. I mean, higher numbers than what people are typically used to seeing. However, at the same time, I think that putting that weight on my shoulders when that goal in itself is unattainable, y'all. There's no humanly possible way that I could read every single new release. If I was to focus on one specific group, like to read all the new picture books, I feel like maybe, but also that's if I was to capture everything that's coming out from every trad publisher, every academic publisher, every indie press. Like there's so many different aspects of it where you just can't read it all. And for some reason, some very odd reason, I got it in my head that I needed to read everything next year. And that just, it's not possible. And I want to undo all of that. Okay, so number 2, I am not also like, I think there's a lot of emotional things. Maybe, I don't know, maybe November was a time of reflection. Maybe that's why I was in a reading slump, because I needed to have a moment to reflect. I am not going to go into 2026 feeling guilty about the size of my collection. I know people have opinions and thoughts and feelings, but opinions are like asses, everyone has one. And I probably shouldn't have said that. But at the end of the day, I know for me that this collection will go down within time. I think that there's this pressure that I put on myself. I cannot speak for any other creator. I cannot speak for any other reader. I think there's this pressure that I put on myself once again to kind of be like, I need to read down my TBR, which we still are. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be like, oh, just let it go to the wind. However, there is a guilt that came with that. There is a pressure I put on myself, not that anybody else did anything, but I want my Read It or Unhaul It videos to be fun. I want to have fun exploring what I own, getting rid of what I don't need, keeping things, falling in love with things that I have on my shelf. It should be freeing and fun, not this, oh my gosh, I have, over 900 books on my TBR. I'm a complete failure if I'm not doing a Read It or Unhaul It every month and not reading or Unhaul It 10, 15 of those books. Like that to me becomes just, it's an issue. It is an unneeded pressure. And I think a lot of these feelings of like, stop putting pressure on yourself is that I don't get paid to do this content, right? I'm supposed to be having fun. Yeah, the 2025 new release thing, those feelings, I mean, I do get paid to know that stuff. So that's a different type of reckoning. That is I can't be a completionist about that. I have to accept the fact that that goal will always remain incomplete. But I think that this pressure to reach certain goals or do certain things because it is a topic of community conversation should not be something that I put on myself, especially when I pay the bills in this house. I deal with everything in this house. Like, what my collection looks like is my business, and I should not be feeling guilty or put pressure on myself because I have a certain number of books that are unread. Does that mean that I allow my TBR to get out of control, my physical TBR, my own collection to get out of control? No, but it means I pace myself. I do it at my own speed. I do it when I can. Like, that is what I am going to do. All right. Third thing, this year, what I did find very interestingly enough is that I spent a lot more time outside this year than I have in the past. And I have gone through a lot in the past few years. Some of you know specific details about it. Some of you don't. You've only heard like bits and pieces. And a lot of that is because I am a private person, and the online spaces, they ain't for the faint of heart, right? Like, they're not. They're not at all. And so I would say certain things because it would either impact my reading, or if I was reading something and it really connected to me personally, I would talk about it. But I have gone through this huge grieving process and figuring myself out, and what does it mean to be me? What does it mean for me to have an identity outside of being a mom? What does it mean for me to be a mom that's breaking a cycle? Like, there's so many things that I feel like I've spent the last year learning about myself, learning, like, what do friendships look like for me? What do romantic relationships look like for me? And what do my goals for my career look like? And it's been a lot of living. And I think that being on any type of platform, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, like, the algorithm doesn't reward you for not being tuned in to content creation. And as someone who does not do this part does not make a drastic change, not anymore, to my personal income, like, I feel like you punish yourself to a certain degree, right? Where you're like, oh, I have to film, I need to be reading, I need to do that. And, when you are out, and like when I'm out with friends and stuff, like, I may film, if I'm doing a vlog, I may film like my food or if I'm at a bookstore, I may get B-roll footage of me like out at a bookstore, but I'm not actively filming everything that is happening in my life. And so it becomes, and it's horrible, I think, like, online culture where you feel like every moment of your life has to be recorded. And as someone who's been doing content creating for such a long time, it becomes ingrained in you that you pull out your camera during everything. But I have had some of the most fulfilling moments happen this year, and it is recorded nowhere. And there's something freeing about that. And there's something freeing about saying, like, I'm gonna live my life and not be chained and balled to a camera, or feel guilty for not making content, or feeling like, oh my gosh, like, nobody's going to view this, or nobody is going, the algorithm is going to punish me, or, when I go into analytics and I see all this stuff is below average and you're not doing what you usually do, because I'm living and existing. And it's not that I didn't know that I had a life outside of content creation, because trust me, absolutely. But I've done so much this year that I didn't necessarily expect to do. Relationships that have completely relationships that have been completely or healing, and spending time with family that I have never met, family that I haven't seen in over 20 years, losing family. It just was 2025 was a very intriguing year, and it's finishing out very interestingly enough for me as well. So I think that I don't want to ever succumb to that guilt of living instead of thinking about, or I could be home reading, or I could be doing this content. We have this one life, right? I told somebody this maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I don't know whether it's because I am getting further, like I am closer now to hitting my mid-30s, that you literally realize, like mid-30s, if you think about the life expectancy of people who live in the US, like that is your midlife, right? I think the average life expectancy for like a woman is like maybe in between 74 to 76 years. And I am like, it feels like I'm so close to that halfway point, right? By the time you hit like 37 to 40, you've lived half of the life that you may possibly live. And I'm thinking like, dang, like you hit that mark and then it's like you literally only have like this one life. Like that's it. That's all you are guaranteed. And so you have to live. Like you have to live in the moment. You have to enjoy it. For the fourth thing, because that was the third thing, right? Yes? Was that the third thing? Maybe? Or was that the second thing? Gosh, maybe I only had 4 things, y'all, instead of 5. Or maybe I can't even remember. I talk so much, who knows where I'm at. I want my reading to no longer be so rigid. I don't know even how to begin to explain this, right? When I say rigid, I mean I want to experiment with my reading in a way that I didn't this year. I think that I think I did towards the end of the year, and I think Herkit honestly is so responsible for that. Herkit has really pushed the envelope of my reading. Granted, I read pretty broadly, right? And that's why I think Herkit felt like it was a challenge, but I was like, I really could take this on because of how broadly I read. But there are things that Herkit has pushed me to try that I have never, I just don't put the time and energy into doing. I think one of the good examples of that is when what did I do? I read, when I did the translated vlog, and just learning so much about Kidlit that has been translated into English, and exploring that and discovering new things. Like that's something I've always talked about, but like I never do it. I feel like I'm just so structured with everything to almost a fault of my own, where I felt like maybe next year I want my reading to be like more fluid. I don't want to necessarily bring that structure into it. I want to try new things, find out like, you know, things that I never thought I would like, maybe I could possibly enjoy. Try genres more than I've tried them ever. Like this year, I pushed myself to really go past reading realistic fiction and contemporary, and it opened my eyes up to some things. It helped me realize that I like some things, don't like some things. And I still have that kind of rigid, like, I guess, moment about me, like going on in the background, but experimentation, like I want that more in 2026. I want to be comfortable in my discomfort. I want to challenge myself to go beyond what I know, and that structure, and that I know what I like and I like it, which there's nothing wrong with that, but pushing myself beyond that structure this year has introduced me to a lot of things that I don't think I would have explored before. And the last thing, I know this is probably like, everything else felt so deep and philosophical. This is not deep or philosophical at all. I'm gonna stop being scared of big books. And you're probably like, girl, what? Yeah, I know everything else is so deep, philosophical, and, you know, like living your life and just exploring and being fluid and and being comfortable in your discomfort. Like, no, like literally, honestly, 100%, this is just super simplistic. Like, stop being afraid of big books. I am intimidated by big books. I don't know what it is. I think it has, I'm going to be completely transparent here. I think what it has to do is that I know for me, a 300 to 400 page book, when I'm not in a slump, is easy for me to knock out in maybe a day or two, right? If I have to pick up a book that's 700, 800, 900 pages long, I'm like, it's going to take me forever to read this. It's because I don't have patience. Yeah. 100%, I know this is going to seem wild. I reserve my patience for my child, right? I was not always shown good practices with patience. And I know that one of the most important ways that I needed to show up in this world with patience was for my kid. I don't have much patience for anything else. I'm working. It's a work in progress. I'm working on myself, but I do know like I reserve my patience because that's what she deserves and that's what she needs from me, and that's how she needs me to show up as a parent. But I think that I have somehow fallen into that need to consume, and I think that does tie back to those unattainable goals that I have I've been pushing to do to prove that I am good at what I do and that I know what I know. Like when it comes to kidlit, like I'm as well versed as I claim to be, and the only way to continuously get well versed in that material is to consume it, and I can consume that stuff at an unnatural speed. Whereas, you know, if I go and I have to pick up Priory of the Orange Tree, it's like that's in 700-800 page book, and it's complex in terms of for me, because it's a fantasy, which means it takes me a little bit longer to wrap my mind around it, and I will not give it the patience or the time of day to do it. I don't want to lean into that fear, and almost, to be quite honest with you, like that need to rush. This is not me saying I'm going to slow my read. I'm not. I'm just not, because it's by nature. I am a quick reader, but I also don't want that to affect my ability to pick up a book and just take my time with it, right? And appreciate that a book of that size, a book with maybe some more complex themes, is going to take me a little bit longer, and it's okay to be patient with that. We're going to work. We're going to try. I'm going to try my hardest. All right, y'all. That is it. Those are some bookish habits that I do not plan to take into 2026. So I was about to say 2024. You're all trying to go backwards. Let me know in the comments down below, what are some bookish habits that you do not want to take into 2026? If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. If you're looking to follow me on social media or support this channel, all the links will be down below in the description box, in the description box down below. See, I haven't done this outro in so long. I did it in the video that I posted a week ago, but I barely got through it then. We're gonna get back into this groove. Either way, all that information is down in the description box for you to discover it. And as always, I will be back with another video soon. Bye.